Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching the special presentation of Sansad TV with your host Kriti Mishra. And joining us today on the broadcast is a very special guest, Parliamentary Affairs and Minority Affairs Minister, Mr. Kiren Rijiju. Sir, welcome to Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us. Sir, let's begin talking about the budget session of Parliament 2026. The productivity of the Lok Sabha was approximately 93%. That of Rajya Sabha was approximately 110%. What were the big takeaways and what were the major highlights for you as Parliamentary Minister of India?
The last budget session has been quite productive, except the special days which we had called for the passing of the women reservation. That was very upsetting for all of us because it concerns the reservation for the women in assemblies and the parliament. So other than the defeat of the women reservation, all the other important matters which we took up got proper discussion and we got a very positive support from all sides of the house. The address of the Honorable President was very inspiring, and then we passed the budget, and then important bills were passed. One of the milestone was the discussion on the eradication of left-wing extremism in the country. So overall, I can say that the budget session was very fruitful, very engaging, and the outcome was very positive, as I said, except the failing to pass the Nari Shakti Adhiniyam and the delimitation amendment bill. That was a bit upsetting for all of us because of the long commitment which we had given to the women of the country. And I can say that the role of the opposition was not very forthcoming in the entire session. There are some individual members who did very well by very sharp intervention, but broadly speaking, the leader of the opposition in Lok Sabha and the Congress party, the principal opposition party, did not perform very well as opposition party in the beginning. They picked up in the second part, but again the vote against the women reservation was very upsetting.
Well, absolutely, sir. You talked about how the Constitution 131st Amendment Bill was negated and thereafter it also stalled the Women's Reservation Amendment Bill. So we saw that there were hectic parleys. You were trying to reach out to all sides, build consensus. What exactly transpired?
Well, as a Parliamentary Affairs Minister, it is my duty to engage with all sides of the House. And I did not fail to reach out to anybody. For that matter, I had very good personal relationship with all the leaders. In fact, I reach out to individual members also, not only the floor leaders. The individual leaders of different small parties, like one party, one leader. We have so many parties which are single member party. To them also I reach out. And then the bigger parties, the principal opposition party and other the parties with larger numbers, it was quite engaging. So on the personal level, I have no problem. I share good bonds with all the leaders. But then ultimately what counts is the performance on the floor of the House. And if you see during the entire proceedings, the output of the members had been quite encouraging. As I said, in the initial few days when the Congress party, the principal opposition party, did not perform well, that means they were creating ruckus, some members had to be suspended. So that was the initial part. When their suspension was revoked and brought back, so the House run very smoothly and we transacted substantial business. But I wish the end was good, but the end was bad because the objective was the reservation for the women in Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha. So that is why the Constitution Amendment 131 did not get through. It is in a way delaying further the implementation of women reservation. And many people did not understand the value of the bill. Some people deliberately did not understand and many people genuinely didn't understand. Why I said so is, we had already given commitment in 2024 that Nari Shakti Vandan Adhinam, when we passed in 2023, it was passed to provide reservation for women in assemblies and the Lok Sabha. So when we already had passed the bill in 2023, the further constitutional amendment was required because it was part of the provision when we passed the bill. So the 131st constitutional amendment is basically to enforce what we had committed in 2023, whereby we had stated that the women reservation will be after the new census of 2026, through which the delimitation will be conducted and the seats will be identified and reservation will be provided. So that is the crux of the whole thing. But many people were asking that when the bill was already passed in 2023, why we need to go for another constitutional amendment. So they should have raised this issue that time, because we never thought that the Congress party and other parties would ask for the caste census. So the caste-based population census started, but we know that it won't be completed in 2 years' time, because we have more than 51,000 castes in India. And to sort out different castes and then finalization of the entire counting, it is going to take long time. We are the most populous nation in the world. And then the delimitation process itself will take long time, because the Election Commission will provide the figures and everything, and then the delimitation commission will have to go to each Lok Sabha constituency for the public hearing. So the caste census and the delimitation, both combined together, will take more than 3 years. So that is why we had to go for the amendment in the Constitution for increasing the seats and amend the bill to refer back the population census of 2011, because the last census means 2011. So we had to go back to that, amending the earlier decision taken by the Parliament. So this is basically furthering the cause of the women by making necessary amendment, which is necessary because we had already passed the bill in 23, and unfortunately we are not ready with the census. COVID happened in 2021, so the census could be taken up only in 2026, because 2023 end we were preparing for the election, 24 election happened, and census could begin now only. These are reality which we have explained nicely. So I feel, as I said, many people understand our genuine effort, the government's concern to conduct all those steps to ensure that implementation of women reservation doesn't get delayed. Our efforts were appreciated by many people, but the opposition parties, especially the Congress, DMK, TMC and Samajwadi, these four principal opposition parties, they genuinely, I feel they intentionally disturbed the whole efforts, and they created the biggest obstacle and prevented from the two-third majority which was required for constitution amendment. Otherwise, the entire budget session, I feel that it's quite fruitful.
So one of the issues raised, let's talk about that, and the government absolutely allayed the concerns of the opposition parties. In fact, the Home Minister himself on the floor of the House said that this will not cause any harm to any South Indian states. Still, those concerns persisted. How do you look at that, sir?
As I said, these other parties understand. These four principal opposition parties also understand. But they deliberately try to mislead. That means the politicking of the entire issue. When we met all the parties individually, in fact, here only in this room, in the presence of Home Minister, me and the Law Minister, we had discussion with various political parties. They all agreed. This proposal was shared with them. So on the floor of the House, what they said is misleading actually. We had explained to them the projection of the numbers of seats, the percentage of each state in the share of Lok Sabha is going to be same. The increase is going to be proportionate to the existing strength of each state. Whether it's a small state or big, the percentage would remain same. Only the projection in terms of increase of seat is necessary because our population has increased 3 times since 1971. So the increase in the seats require constitutional amendment. That is a basic thing, they understand it. And despite that, they choose to play politics. If government was defeated for any other cause, I won't mind. In politics, it happens that if government's bill or anything which causes harm to my party also can be tolerated. But the harm is to the women of India. It's basically backstabbing. They supported in 23. They supported during our individual discussion with each political parties. And then finally on the floor of the House they voted against. It's basically amounting to backstabbing of the opposition party to the women of India. That is why I had made a statement also that it is basically they cheated the women of India and they will have to face the brunt of the women's anger for very, very long time to come.
Prime Minister also offered a blank check to the opposition.
That is because they were fearing that during the election time BJP will take the credit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will take the credit of women reservation. So to balance that out, Prime Minister offered them that if every political party supports this constitutional amendment, then the share of credit will be equal. And on top of that, Prime Minister said, you take the credit. We are just taking the initiative, and the opposition failed to take the credit, so they will have to face the political backlash.
So what is the way ahead now?
We are very clear about it. We have stated, Prime Minister has already stated that our effort will continue. Our commitment to the women of India will not be diluted. So we will continue to put effort. But right now I can't spell out how we will move. But we will continue to put forward our efforts to ensure that whatever we had committed to the women of India will be provided.
So how do you see Nari Shakti in decision making and the impact on our goal of making India a developed nation by 2047?
That is for every society, woman has to have the central role. A woman plays a central role in managing the family. In a similar way, in the society also, women play the central role. So in the nation's journey, in anything to be achieved, women will have to be in the front. And for Viksit Bharat, the women will have to play the critical role. So women-led development ensures more equitable. When the development is led by women, it is much more fair, much more equitable for the society. I am not demeaning the performance or the ability of the men, but without women, it is not going to be fair. That is the crux of the thing. And in the Viksit Bharat journey, Prime Minister has already given so much of space to the women, from providing title to the women in registering the house, gas connection, many other government-sponsored schemes which are to be dedicated to women. So that's how women are coming into the more forefront in taking responsibility, because they get more space during our government. In the past, it was more of a token representation. Now it is a substantive representation of the woman. So Viksit Bharat is going to be women-driven, women-led, and then we will fulfill our wish that India becomes a fully developed nation by 2047.
Well, absolutely, sir. And shifting focus to other legislative business, 9 important bills were passed during the session, including the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Amendment Bill, Jan Vishwas Bill, also the CAPF Bill. So how do you think these bills or these legislations have further fortified India's reform agenda and pushed India's growth story?
See, every bill is always going to be important in terms of their impact. That is why the Parliament provides all necessary inputs, ideas, and then we finally pass the bill. One of the hallmark of this Parliament session is the passing of Jan Vishwas Bill, because that is decriminalization of more than 1,000 provisions, and thereby giving people much more easier way of life. You're making ease of life, ease of doing business. Most of the criminal penalties have been eradicated. Most of them are being simplified, and the simplification of law and decriminalization of the provisions are going to benefit the common citizens, thereby making the laws less burdensome on the citizens. So Jan Vishwas Bill is one of those reforms which Prime Minister has pushed very hard. In the first 2 terms of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government, we had done many structural changes, various important steps for the advancement of our country's growth in different sectors, in defense, space, science and technology, in agriculture, in industrial production, and then all social schemes and the financial inclusion. In the 3rd term is the basic reforms. That is why Prime Minister had said that the 3rd term will be Narendra Modi Express of reforms, and this express reforms are going to take much more drastic necessary steps than what we have done in the first 2 terms. That is why now we are targeting the provisions of the existing laws itself, whereby the laws are becoming less cumbersome, least obstacle, and they are minimum burden to the common citizens to comply with. So the compliance burden, which are quite heavy because of the colonial mindset and the laws which are inferred from the colonial source and thinking, they have been changed. So in a way, it is a decolonization of the Indian mindset, and also decriminalization of the existing laws, thereby making it much more people friendly. So other than Jan Vishwas Bill, all other bills are equally important, but I personally feel that the declaration of the success against the left-wing extremism is the very defining moment, because India has 3 big challenges: the Kashmir problem, Northeast, and left-wing extremism. Amongst them, Kashmir issue is almost now settled. It's becoming quite normal. Northeast, barring Manipur, rest of the 7 states are having complete peace. And then now left-wing extremism remains a big hurdle which has been now done away. Just few obstacles are remaining. So we can very confidently say that India is now free from left-wing extremism. So overall, this session has been very, very fulfilling.
Finally, sir, another major highlight was the election of Deputy Chairman Harivansh-ji. This was a rare moment where a nominated member was elected as a Deputy Chairman of the Upper House of Parliament. Your take on that?
Basically, Harivansh-ji has displayed his maturity, his inept ability to handle the proceedings of the House, and without being harsh, he has been very successful in controlling the situation in any eventuality. He has run the House when it was quite turbulent, noisy, and he has conducted very well. This has paved the way for his becoming Deputy Chairman for the third term. And being a nominated MP, it will be a very different kind of a posture, because he is now not belonging or not being nominated by any political party. He is nominated by the President of India. So he is truly neutral. In any case, anybody who occupies the chair has to be neutral, but he being a nominated member of Parliament makes him very unique. So I think Harivansh-ji has shown his ability to maintain the decorum of the House and also smoothly running the House. And I think from all sides, everybody is happy that he has returned as Deputy Chairman.
Well, absolutely, sir. And let's end this conversation with your message to your fellow parliamentarians.
No, I don't normally give any kind of lessons to my colleagues. I only appeal that we all are colleagues, and all the colleagues must ensure that dignity of the House must be maintained at any cost. Parliament runs with rules and procedures and the conventions. If we maintain the decorum of the House, it is good for us. If we run down the rules and regulations and the conventions, it will diminish our own positions. So it is the responsibility of every member to ensure that India remains a bright and vibrant parliamentary democracy.
Well, on that very, very positive note, thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your perspective with us. Thanks a lot, sir.